Let's start with Grangemouth. It was the Prime Minister's big announcement at your conference, £200 million to pump prime new investment and new technology, creating new jobs at Grangemouth. That must have been quite a relief for you.
Look, it's important that we secure the future of the Grangemouth site. It's a significant amount of investment, but what we have to see now is the even larger scale private sector investment to find that secure future for Grangemouth for generations to come. And look, it's the perfect location. It's got a successful grid already, it's got a import-export terminal, it's got a connection to the North Sea, and it's perfectly located in terms of its geography in Scotland. What we need now, though, is to find the private investment to go alongside that government investment to secure the future that we want to see in Grangemouth.
But it must have come as a relief. Here's what you said on the STV Leaders debate last year. Would you step in to save the refinery?
We would step in to save the jobs at the refinery and to invest in that transition by making an energy transition hub at Grangemouth, and we would put hundreds of millions of pounds behind it to make it a reality, to protect those jobs and build Grangemouth for the future.
You said you'd save the jobs. The redundancy letters have gone out. You failed.
Look, a couple of things within that. One is even the First Minister himself last week was accepting that there was a level of intransigence from the company with attempts by both an incoming UK Labour government and indeed the Scottish government to try and avert the closure. I think I saw a statement today from the company which references perhaps somehow a deal could have been done last summer, but we weren't in government last summer. There is a UK Labour government now.
To be fair, they were talking about last summer. You became the government from July. That's in the summer.
But I think they're talking about before that period, because there has been numerous attempts. But where we are now is we've secured incomes for the workforce for 18 months, which is important.
Well, that's coming from the company. That's not coming from the government.
But that's obviously government working with the company to try and make progress.
But that's redundancies. Redundancies aren't the same as saving the jobs. Redundancies are not a just transition.
I agree with you. A just transition is securing the long-term future of the site and making sure we're investing in the opportunities.
But redundancy is not a secure future either.
And that's why this £200 million investment has to come on stream quickly. But to do that, we need to see that private sector investment come alongside it and identifying at least one of those successful opportunities to come out of Project Willow. But just on the point you make about the workforce, because it's really, really important, is there's the income guarantee for 18 months for the workforce. There's obviously money that's coming from the UK government as well as work that's been done from the Scottish government around reskilling. There's the national insurance holiday that's given to any company that's within that region, so those workers can stay in that area and contribute to the local economy. But I've been saying for weeks, if not months now, that this is nowhere near enough, and that's why I'm glad that we have seen this significant announcement around £200 million from the National Wealth Fund. But what needs to come now is that push for the investment and pushing on the options coming out of Project
Willow.
You
said you would save the jobs. Did you overpromise last year?
Well, I think there is a level of intransigence from the company that I wish wasn't the case.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by intransigence from the company?
What I'm meaning by that is I think there was an opportunity where significant investment could have been made alongside private investment to
But are you saying that they wouldn't speak to the government about it?
To demonstrate that there was a bridge for those workers to an alternative future.
But are you saying that INEOS wouldn't? Hang on, are you saying that INEOS wouldn't speak to the UK government about that?
No, of course there were conversations happening. What I'm meaning is where there was an intransigence is about delaying the closure of the refinery. Because I think in an ideal scenario, what would have happened would have been a bridge where jobs didn't go offstream and led to other jobs. Now, let's hope that the 18-month pay acts as that bridge in terms of guaranteeing incomes, but to do that we've got to secure significant investment in the here and now, and that's why the National Wealth Fund, I believe, is a game changer in that, where we've got to get the next stage of Project Willow, we've got to try and find those private sector investors to come in, and we've got to try and make one of those options that come out of Project Willow. It could be sustainable aviation fuel, it could be green hydrogen, it could be
all of which would cost an awful lot more than the 200 million that is going in. I mean, the green hydrogen was what, 250 million by 2020?
No, which is why what we want to do with the National Wealth Fund is use that to give confidence to private sector investments to come on stream on that site.
You tweeted,
investing hundreds of billions
of pounds. Hang on, you tweeted after the announcement that this secures the future of Grangemouth. But it doesn't really secure that because the jobs are going. There is no future after the summer right now.
No, I believe it does secure the future of the site because it is £200 million of public investment that we hope can loop in at least 2 or 3 times as much in private investment, meaning up to £800 million, if not more.
Now, you said you're running to be First Minister of a Labour government. Let's look at some of your policies. You made big promises on health in your conference speech, ending the ATM rush for GPs appointments, guaranteeing a GP appointment within 48 hours if you win next year. How quickly could you deliver that, do you think?
Well, I want to move as fast as possible.
Well, how quickly?
And I think we can do it in the early part of the next Parliament.
How quickly?
And how I think we do that is...
Are you talking within a year?
Well, I think we can do it in the early part of the
what's the early part of the Parliament?
Well, I think you can do it within the first 1 or 2 years of the Parliament. And let me tell you why. It's because if we declare, first of all, that national waiting times emergency, it takes pressure off the GP practice because we're getting people's treatment done quicker. So an example.
But you're still going to have to renegotiate the entire GP contract. That could take you years. It could cost you millions.
Well, I'm coming to that. First of all, if you can get people treated quicker in acute care, it means, for example, they're not waiting 2 years for a hip replacement, meaning they're phoning the GP practice
Absolutely.
4, 5, 6 times.
You told us that all weekend.
So you
but
get that.
You didn't address the fact that this could take you years and cost you millions by renegotiating the GP's contract.
Well, I'm coming to that too. And as part of renegotiating the GP contract, I think it will cost money. But that, I think, has to be part of the reprofiling we do in the National Health Service. Because when this government came into power, 11% of the NHS budget was going to primary care. That's now down at 6%. And if you look at the big challenges facing the NHS, yes, people look at the waiting times, and I think everything goes back to the waiting times. But the reason why that's a challenge is because the entrance door to the acute services is too heavy, because partly there's not enough resource in primary care, and the exit door is too blocked up because there's not enough resource in social care.
How much is it going to cost you to renegotiate the contract, do you think?
And that's why, if we can get primary care right...
How much?
And we can get community care right and social care right, I think that's what takes the pressure.
How much will it cost you to renegotiate the GP contract?
That's part of the negotiation. I'm not going to start negotiating the GP contract in this programme, but I look forward to negotiating that contract with the BMA and GPs.
Some Labour policies at Westminster seem to be hitting your support here. Scrapping the pensioners' winter fuel payment, snubbing the WASPy women, not scrapping the 2-child benefit cap, energy bills going up. Do you think Keir Starmer's damaging your chances of becoming First Minister?
Well, I've always been of the view that there is no route to a Scottish Labour victory in 2026 without a UK Labour victory in 2024. And I stand by that. And I said throughout the election campaign...
Since then, people are seeing Labour's government in government, and they're not impressed.
Well, they're seeing 200,000 Scots get a pay rise, only possible because we have a Labour government.
Yeah, but they're seeing the other things that I've just mentioned seem to be trumping that. Sir John Curtis, who's the polling expert on these things, say that your support's imploded since the election.
Well, Sir John Curtis also said that we'd be dreaming if we thought we could win 25 Scottish Labour MPs. We won 37. So I have defied the pollsters, the pundits and the commentators.
Why do you think your polls have
lots
plummeted?
of times over the last 4 years. I look forward to...
Why do you think...
Get proven them wrong in 2026.
Why do you think it's plummeting now? Is it your fault? Is it Sir Keir Starmer's fault?
So I think there's a combination of factors. I think the most...
Both of you.
I think the biggest thing... Neither of us, if you're happy... If you want to
hang on, are you blaming the voters now?
No, far from it. The voters are never wrong. And actually, when the votes are cast, we won the election. And when the votes are cast, we've won 19 by-elections. The SNP's won 6.
You didn't win the Kilmarnock one last week, did you?
What about the one the week before, or the
Absolutely,
ones 2 weeks before,
you
or the
won
ones before that?
But you did.
So we won 19 of the last 36 by-elections. The SNP's won 6. That's real people's votes. But the important point, Colin, is I don't think people's mind is currently in the choice facing them in 2026. And that's the point I want to get across. The choice people have in May 2026 is a third decade of an SNP government or a new direction with me as First Minister.
You're going to have to hope that's the case. I honestly believe... Because you led Labour to their worst ever Scottish Parliament election result in 2021. Well, if you do that again, you're out.
When I came in with 10 weeks of the job, when we were polling at 14% in the opinion polls, only 8% of people said they were going to definitely vote Labour in that election, and people were talking about our survival. I didn't just make sure the Labour Party survived, I made sure it thrived, and we won an election last year. And I absolutely believe we'll win an election next year.
But you're back down at your 2021 polling level.
We defied them before, we'll defy them again, because the choice on the election is going to be 1 in 6 Scots on a waiting list, or a national emergency to do whatever it takes to fix our NHS with me? It's going to be falling school standards with the SNP, or making sure every child gets a chance in life with me as First Minister. It's going to be 10,000 children homeless under the SNP right now, or us ending rough sleeping with me as First Minister.
You're just repeating your conference speech to me now.
I liked it so much,
exactly,
Colin, which is why I'm projecting it again.
You brought it with me. Finally, the Prime Minister's due to meet President Trump this week on Thursday. What did you make of President Trump calling the Ukrainian president a dictator, implying that he'd started the war? What do you make of President Trump there?
Well, obviously, Zelensky is not a dictator. He is elected by the people of Ukraine, and it's perfectly natural.
But what did you make of President Trump?
Well, he's clearly got it wrong on that one, but I don't think the right thing for us to do is to react to every single thing President Trump says. I think the more appropriate thing to do is stand by what we believe. And the reality is there's been lots of times in history where elected politicians haven't been able to have an election because they're in the midst of a war. That's the reality with President Zelensky.
Does the Prime Minister have to give him a few home truths on Thursday?
Well, I think what the Prime Minister will make clear is we want a strong relationship with the United States. It's right for our national security interest. It's also right for our economic interest. But we also want to make sure we have fairness and justice for the people of Ukraine. Indeed, fighting for peace in every part of the world. You can see the comments that we made. You can see other comments that we made about other conflicts around the world.
Not offering that.
And of course, we want to make sure we're protecting Scottish businesses and UK businesses. The potential tariffs on whisky being one example of that. So we've got to have a strong personal relationship, a political relationship, but hold our own in terms of being true to our own principles and our own values.
Anas Sarwar.